I do like this
That's
better though
what
than
the
the other one.
timer in the beginning is good for.
All right, we're live.
We are live. Guys, welcome to the All Leads Suck podcast, where we come at you every Thursday at 1 p.m. Eastern Time with a lot of really great information about lead generation, real estate, all around business information. And we always have a really great guest on. Guys, I'm Dominic Felix.
Luis Rodriguez.
And this is Sam.
And guys, we have an extra special guest on for you today, a real estate turning into a real estate mogul, great with creative. It's Gianina Romito. It's funny because Gino put Damito in the
Yeah,
ad. Did you guys?
I
So I was
did
like,
see
is that
that.
like a mixture of me and Gianina? Gianina Damito? Did you catch that you did that, Gino?
I did
Okay.
see it.
Yeah, yeah. So Gianina, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Awesome,
Happy,
awesome.
happy to be here.
Yeah. If you
Welcome.
don't mind, really quickly, can you just give a brief bio of
Sure.
yourself and what you've been up to lately to the public so they know a little bit more about you?
Yeah, I'm Gianina Romito, real estate entrepreneur, investor, wholesaler here in Northeast Florida, based in St. Augustine, but do a lot of my stuff up north here in Jax, and then all the way down to New Smyrna type area, starting to market down into Orlando as well. But started here, built out here, and kind of just moving my way down. But do a little bit of everything, I guess, if you want to say, but mostly wholesaling right now in this market, not flipping as much,
Sure.
kind of put that on the back burner unless there's like a huge spread there, but really zeroed in on the wholesaling this year and building that to a 7-figure operation. So,
Awesome.
yeah.
Awesome. Yeah. I think what's really cool that we've all seen and we're all continuing to see is that you play a lot in the creative pond,
Yep.
right? You're
Yeah.
doing a lot of creative deals out there. Obviously, you're making a lot of noise on social media, a lot of attention in your direction.
hmm
So that's amazing. It just, why did you go in that direction? Because it seems like it's something that you love, you're excited about it, you're successful at it. And I'm curious, like, why did you go in that direction? And how does your brain work that it tries to solve all these problems and approach these creative deals in different ways? Because you've even done one with your personal property recently,
Yep. We
which
sure
is
did.
super
Really?
interesting. So,
Yeah. And so when we originally started, we had jumped into sub two with Pace Morby, and that's kind of where we started to learn the wholesale, but we didn't really dig into the creative side so much. But then realizing, that there was a lot of competition and everything out there, it's like we were watching just leads that if you missed them, by a second, it was gone. Or leads that,
mhm,
all leads suck, people saying that these leads suck,
mhm,
and then realizing like, no, that's actually a good lead. You just need to look at it a little differently.
yeah,
So we started to jump into the creative side more, just trying to work some of those leads that did suck or were dead. And then realizing, because like problem solving as wholesalers, like that's what we do.
Yeah.
And to be honest, like ADHD me, I was getting bored with just the typical, wholesale.
yeah,
And I'm like,
making money.
yeah,
Cool.
so I don't know. So it was trying to get more on the creative side. I don't know, just honestly boredom was my thing.
Okay.
I saw the money coming in, but I was like, I'm kind of bored. Let's open up another avenue.
Yeah.
So that's kind of where creative came in. And yeah, actually we did just buy our personal property creatively, but it started from driving for dollars down in St. Augustine area, Porpoise Point. I don't know if you're familiar with that area, but literally using deal machine to just one-off skip trace properties down there. And I'd reached out to an owner on one of the land leads down there. And he's like, I get calls all the time. He's like, but just, I don't know what I paid for the property. Give me a number. I'll let you know. So we threw out a number to him. He said 5,000 more. And we're like, let's shoot terms. So we asked him if he wanted to sell or finance it.
What
And he's
was the
like,
number if it's not a secret? It's public knowledge.
what's that? The number on
The
on the
number
lot?
on the lot.
Yeah, I think we ended up paying 195 for it.
Okay.
So 195.
So you gave him 190, he asked for 195.
Correct. Yeah, and he held the note.
Ruthless negotiator.
Yeah, he held the note for us for 2 years, and we actually designed our dream home.
And what was the structure of the note? Like how much down?
So we put. Ooh, why can't I remember this? We only put 25,000 down,
Okay.
I believe. Yeah. And our plan was to build by that point. We're like 2 years, we'll just pay it off. So Our plan was to
And what were
build
you paying? Were you paying him
and
interest,
then
or he
pay.
just held off until you built the house and refied?
Yeah, we were doing interest only payments at the time. So
Nice.
Wow. For
yes,
2 years?
yeah, for 2 years. So that's what we did, and we actually hand like delivered a check to him each month in his mailbox. He's like, I don't do Venmo, I don't do any of that.
Hey.
Gave us an
They got a
excuse to
guy
go to the
like
beach,
that.
I guess. But yeah, so we took 2 years, a year and a half, I guess, to build and design our dream home, like
Mhm.
5 bed, 5 bath, 4,500 or some square feet.
Wow.
And then life changed, and we were like, I don't think it feels right
It's
anymore.
not our dream anymore.
It's not our dream anymore because, like, I have kids, and like that area is beautiful. If you guys know it, it's beautiful down there, but it's just not, it's not a kid-friendly neighborhood. There's not enough for kids to do. So I'm like, all right, I think we're being selfish to build here. Maybe it's like the water's a future thing.
Mm-hmm. And how much did it cost to build it?
So so we didn't end up building, but the build was going to be, we got quotes between like 650 up to 850, but it was right when that lumber was going up and
Mhm.
down and fluctuating. So that was it. But then the ARV on it was going to pull somewhere at like 1.7 or 1.8. So either way, I mean, whatever we did with the lot was going to make sense.
Okay.
So now, fast forward, it's paid off at this point, and we have it on the market for 550. Hasn't sold yet,
Yeah.
but like that's prime real estate right there. So
Right.
but without creative finance, I mean,
Wouldn't have been
it
possible.
wouldn't have been possible because we didn't have $200,000 cash at that point. We would have probably just wholesaled it
Mhm.
and made 10, 15 grand.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So now we have $500,000 of equity basically in that lot. 400,000, should you say?
Yep.
So you did kind of the driving for dollars. It's kind of
Mhm.
a grind, or it can be.
Sure.
How many did you go through until you got that one?
It wasn't a lot because there was,
Wow.
I mean, there was only, I think at that point, like maybe 12 lots left in that neighborhood.
Okay.
So a couple of them just couldn't get a hold of them, tried everything, pulled it through every system, couldn't get a hold of him. But I was able to reach him, and I think it was like the third call.
Okay.
Wow.
And a lot of
And
people
we had no money to market or anything at that point. It's right when we first started.
Wow.
And I mean, a lot of it was building the rapport too. I kind of told my story, like, we have kids. He's like, we want more kids in this neighborhood. And he's like, I'd love for you guys
He
to.
lives in the neighborhood also?
Yes, he does.
Was he your next door
Sweet.
neighbor?
No, he has
Okay.
the massive, massive house that sits like on Porpoise Point that looks like a hotel.
Okay.
Wow.
So
And why did he decide
You
to
got
sell
right.
to you and not just list it on the market?
the
Who knows?
story, I guess. I know we did build really good rapport. And he wants more families in the neighborhood rather than people that are buying and coming down for 2 months or whatnot. So
Mm.
hopefully the person that ends up buying it
So it
He's a
wasn't
fan.
will be that just for that
Does
So-
he know it's for
reason.
sale?
I'm sure at this point there's a for sale sign right in the
Yeah.
right in the yard.
Mm.
But
And then he peeks on the market and be like, they lied to me.
I know.
What were the
Yeah.
was there pricing with the other lots? Like, did they
No,
have
I mean,
asking prices?
no, because nothing was on the market at that time. I mean,
Okay.
there were a couple houses on the market at that time, but no lots were. So
So what'd you guys do since you didn't build?
we didn't build. So we decided to buy inward a little bit in Trailmark. So we bought a house on sub 2.
Mm.
Yes.
What were the terms on it?
So the terms on the house, his current mortgage is 650,
Mm-hmm.
and we're putting quite a bit down on this one. We're putting about 200,000 down on it, but we have another house that we're selling that we have $400,000 of equity in.
Mm.
However, sat on the market for a while, and we just sold that one off on terms as well.
Mm.
So yeah, everything in our little circle has been
Termed
creative
out.
finance.
Yeah.
Yeah, all terms. And like, I mean, with, no W-2, nothing like that. Like, we were growing out of our house because we don't have an office like this. So we work out of our house.
So you had another house that you bought as a conventional purchase.
Correct.
That you were living in.
Yep.
You bought a lot thinking that you'd build on that lot.
Mhm.
You bought the lot creatively.
Correct.
But then you ended up not building on it and
Mhm.
just selling the lot. So you're going to sell the lot.
Mhm.
And then you're selling your house. You try to sell it conventionally too.
Yep.
But it was sitting on the market.
Got it.
And then what happened after? Like you took it off the market, or
Yeah,
how
so
did you
it
sell it
sat for like
creatively?
a little over 90 days. And there was at one point like 12 houses for sale in our neighborhood
Mm-hmm.
that were like almost all the same, 4 bed, 3 bath, 2,500 something square feet. And I'm like, there's just no way.
And what were you asking for it?
695.
$695.
Yeah.
Okay.
And we only owe like 330 on it
Okay.
or so, but we're like, there's no way in this market right now. And in 32092, there's like over 1,500 houses for sale currently. Plus, you're competing with all these new builds.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And they're
New build.
they're offering all these incentives, and it's
Mhm.
just you can't compete with it. So I had just told my agent, who we've worked with in the past, who's a friend of ours, and I'm just like, all right, we're gonna give it X amount of time, and I'm gonna try to market it myself
Mhm.
creatively.
Mhm. How did you do that?
So as soon as we took it down, I just started posting like social media pages, the actual our neighborhood page, Arbor Mill neighborhood page, and somebody that lives across the street in a rental neighborhood actually saw the post.
And what was
And
the post?
it was just,
No money down, free house.
yeah, right. No, I just had put like 60,000 down,
Okay.
which is very reasonable for a
Mhm.
$695,000 house. So it's like
course.
10%, a little bit
Less than that.
less. So I put that in just all the terms, what the monthly payment would be, and then got blown up with messages.
Wow.
Yeah,
Sure.
so kind of narrowed it down to serious buyers that were able to close because we're still paying a mortgage on that,
Mm-hmm.
plus the mortgage,
So you
the
did a
mortgage on our new
wraparound
house.
mortgage?
So yeah, we seller financed out our equity on it, so we'll cash flow $1,000 a month, but they're gonna pay us out within 18 months.
Oh, so you put a balloon.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we put a balloon,
Okay.
and like I wasn't shooting for a short balloon because it's hard for people,
Mm-hmm.
especially when they're buying at full price
Right.
to be able to refinance out. But their plan was to buy a house conventionally anyways, so they can qualify for
Wow.
a loan.
Dude, so
Yeah.
so this is a genius theme, right? You basically go up to homeowners, you tell them you want to live in it,
Yeah.
right? And you contract it, but then you sell it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is amazing. I love it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
So
you're buying another one on
Using-
also terms.
Yeah. So we live in that one now.
Okay.
So we
So
did.
you already bought it.
So we have a lease with him for up to 6 months because our plan was we're either going to sell off the lot or we're going to sell our house and get all the equity out of that.
And then you'll just pay off whatever the option is on the lease.
Hmm.
Nice.
Yeah. So we had 6 months to pay him back, basically.
Nice. That's awesome.
Wow.
cool.
Yeah.
I-
I mean,
pretty
there's no
creative.
way. Like when we bought that first house, I was working a W-2 job, making $65,000 a year, whatever it was, but we were able to qualify for a $330,000 house at the time. But
Yeah.
the house we want now and what we need to fit our needs, no way.
Right.
We've been able to qualify when we show we make,
Right.
whatever on paper.
Yeah.
What's the most unique creative deal that you've done?
It's probably, I don't know. Honestly, I think this one that we're in now has been maybe not necessarily the most unique, but it I worked the hardest on this one because it was on the market for a while. And I
Your
just
personal residence.
the house that we're living in now.
Oh, okay.
I don't know, they each need names or something.
Yeah.
Trailmark House.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so it was on the market for a while, but then I had saw that he was posting it for rent on Marketplace for $5,000, and I'm like, okay, he's hurting. There's some kind of pain there, and like I worked him for 6 months or so, and he's like, no,
So that was a lead that sucked.
yeah,
Oh, yeah.
there was a shitty lead right there,
Yeah.
sucky lead.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so it was like working that one. I don't know, just so hard, and he was a car salesman. So it was like us back and forth was we were butting heads,
What,
and
he
he's like,
was-
"I'm not in pain at all," and I'm like,
But he was.
"Dude, you've got a $5,000 mortgage here," and then he said he had already moved to Nashville, and he said his mortgage there was $5,000.
Mm.
I'm like, no matter how much money you're making,
That's
you're
not
gonna
fun.
start bleeding at some point.
Yeah.
So finding that pain, and at one point he was finally like, "All right, I'm hurting, help me, please." I'm telling the agent to take it off, and
How
Wow.
long was that process of like first reaching out before he finally said I'm in pain?
it was close to 6 months. Yeah, because he had let it sit, and that's when his
Well, let me ask this.
his
So
thing was about to
how
expire.
come someone else didn't dive in? One of Pace's other students or something? No one else did the work at all at any
Yeah.
level that you've done with that gentleman?
No, and I had asked if anybody had, pitched subject to him, and he's like, not really. I know about seller finance, but that's all I really know. So
And he had
that
a
showed me
mortgage
right
in
there that
place,
he did have a mortgage in place.
right?
Well, it's so
Yeah.
interesting because like we're exposed to our world, right? We're on social media, we go in all of these groups, and we think it's flooded with these routines, these, sub two,
But
seller
it's not.
financing, whatever the case may be. But there's a whole outside world that we probably don't even tap into 99% of.
Oh,
Right.
for sure. And you have to think too. I mean, she said it took 6 months of constantly reaching out to them. How many people are going to reach out to a random person
Nobody
for six
is.
months?
Dude, I remember when I first got into wholesaling, it was probably year two. A random wholesaler from Orlando came up to visit our office. I talked to him at the conference room table, and following up with people after the first visit was an epiphany to him. He would go visit homes or do calls, and they didn't come to a deal, and he would never follow up with them again.
Yeah.
It's crazy because
Yeah.
all of the money is in follow up.
All of it.
Everybody wants the
99% of it,
low-hanging fruit.
95% of it.
Yep.
It's all in follow up.
Yeah.
So are all your deals attained through follow up, do you think? Do
Most.
you ever have like that first, like, because subject to creative financing, people don't understand that
No.
really.
No.
No.
They
It
understand a
blows their
cash
mind.
deal,
Yeah.
a quick cash deal, or selling with a realtor on the market. That's the norm.
Right.
Or
And
seller finance. They may
or seller
understand
finance.
that.
People that understand seller finance, it's because the tax reasons they don't want
Right.
to get hit so hard, and they get it. But yeah, for sub two, like most of the time we're the last resort for these people. It's like they come back and they're like, all right, it's not selling on the market. Like, what can I do? And after I posted about my own house and selling it off this way, I've had quite a few people reach out and be like, hey, mine's not moving. Like, can you help me
Wow.
structure something?
That's a pretty nice little
Yeah.
touch there.
So it's kind of like, I don't know, just switch instead of just the traditional wholesale. It's like helping people on the other side,
Yeah.
Right.
that they're stuck, that they maybe have already moved and they can't pay 2 mortgages,
I know the
or
post I'm doing after this show.
yeah.
You're gonna have to sell your house first.
Well,
Yeah.
didn't he sell the one? Didn't you help him sell one to one of your people,
Yes.
sub to?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I have
Yeah.
one right now that's an underlying subject to that we remodeled. The seller's still in the deal, and we wrapped it and seller financed it out to an end buyer.
Okay.
Because it took like 30 to 45 days and there was not a lot of action, and then the underlying seller was hurting and she wanted some quick cash.
Mm-hmm.
So we wind up selling it with seller financing.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yep.
So it's not the norm, but it is a solution
Right.
for speed.
It definitely feels like maybe it's just because it's in the world that we're in, but it's starting to feel like it is becoming more normalized.
Mm-hmm.
Because I've even as like listing properties on market, I've gotten several sub two offers,
Yeah.
and like one of the houses I have right now has had 0 walkthroughs at all, but we got a sub two offer already. And it actually kind of is a good deal for sub two because the property is just hurting. So it's just
Just-
unique how like it just
And
has
it has
been
no
becoming.
equity or
It has no equity. It's
equity.
upside
It
down
has negative
essentially.
equity.
negative
Right. It's
equity.
like 5K negative right now. And I have not had, it's funny, like the neighbor sold for the same price, but
Mhm.
nobody has walked through this. It's been like 30 days, but 2 weeks in, somebody sent me a deal for over asking. And I was like, damn, this is just funny that like it's just starting to become more normalized like that on like a brand new construction townhouse. It's just so interesting to see it happening so much now.
So
It is a lot of the new constructions that have,
Yeah.
just a little bit of equity. And
Yep.
it's getting agents to be open to it as well. Just opening their eyes to like, you're still going to get paid,
Right.
because we offer typically at least to pay some of the agent's commission on
So
it.
there are multiple ways to get these types of leads, right? Because when
Mhm.
you initially started, you were just driving for dollars.
Yep.
I guess deal machine, pinning properties down, tracking the owners.
Right.
But there's 100 approaches nowadays. You can skip trades, you can pull lists, or you can reach out to agents.
Right.
What's an approach that you use the most? What's your lead
For
generation?
the creative side, agent outreach is huge,
Yeah.
and that's probably like 90%.
Yeah.
We'll pull some of the low equity lists, but I'd say about 90% of our deals are coming from
Agents.
agents, and not
Really?
necessarily on market, but agents that they'll have a bucket listing, they know it's coming up, but
They know
it
that
has no
it's
equity.
not going to sell.
Yeah, that it's
Yeah.
not going to sell, and the seller's going to end up upside down.
That's
So the
interesting.
agents just bring you those deals.
Hmm.
Because I actually think that with agents, it's like an extra layer.
It is.
And
It is for sure.
it's even harder to pitch that to because you're pitching it to the seller, right?
Right.
But then you pitch it to the agent, and then the agent has to pitch it to the seller.
Right. Yeah. And there's a lot of times that I'll say, like, let's get on a three-way call,
Right.
so I can explain it
Mm-hmm.
so that you don't have to relay it. And
Right.
sometimes they're open to that. Sometimes they're not. But
Would you say most of the time?
most of the time they are. Yeah. Because, I mean, they want to get paid. They want to help their seller. So if they can
would
get
do it.
somebody else to explain it.
Do you feel like you see the same questions asked constantly by agents?
Yep.
You should make this a video.
Yeah. Consistently.
Like, I'm just gonna send you the link real quick. You watch it 10 minutes. I'll call you back in 10 minutes.
Yeah.
And then you just be like, send that exact same thing to the seller.
Yeah,
so you don't fumble anything.
That's
in
probably a
between.
smart idea. I have like a Word document basically that I just sent, or the PDF that I send, and I'm
FAQ?
like,
That's very smart.
FAQs, and I'm like, you
Look
can
at the
answer
FAQs, then
this should answer all your
Yeah.
questions. If there's any more,
Nice.
reach back out.
Yeah, but unfortunately, no one's gonna watch the video. No one's gonna read the FAQ, and you have to lead the horse to water.
You do, yeah.
Because people
for
still
sure.
ask the same exact questions that are on the FAQ.
I feel like that's the
100%.
third question on there. So you definitely didn't read this.
It's funny how
Number
someone
3.
won't comprehend something they read if you tell them the exact same thing
Yeah.
verbally.
That is true.
It's just unbelievable. What I'm curious about from your point of view is, all right, we have these houses that have no equity, perhaps even negative equity. What are some of the common solutions you're seeing help those sellers out of those situations?
I mean, most of our situations, the seller's gonna have to bring money to the table, so they're negative, and so we're actually giving them money to get them, to their next property or whatever is next. So, I mean, just giving them that ability to have cash when they don't. Most of these people don't have any cash at all to bring to the table, so they're just going to sit there and sit there.
I mean, most people in general don't have cash.
They don't.
That's true.
So it's, I mean, yeah, I wouldn't be able to bring 15 grand to a table. So being able to actually provide them.
So that can help them sell, and that can help you to get control of the asset.
Yep, and then help them get to their next.
And then what happens next? Where does that asset go? And what does the investor do with it?
So when we get the property sub 2 or seller finance or whatever, so sometimes we'll hold on to it, depending.
Are you going to try to think of like rental, Airbnb?
Cash flow is important, but it's not everything. Like in St. Johns County, if something breaks even and we're only bringing a little bit of money to the table, I mean, we know in St. Johns County that things, are appreciating like crazy.
Okay, so it can be an equity play.
It could just be an equity play. Yeah.
Okay.
We look at pad split type things for a lot of them, because as soon as we post it, an investor's like, oh, it doesn't cash flow. Well, what's your exit? Are you doing pad split? Are you doing midterm rentals? So, I mean, I market it as multiple.
Right.
When we do it, multiple exit strategies. Yeah. Because, a lot of these, when you're coming in, if it's a 2023 build and they got a 6% interest rate and their payments, $3,000, it's not going to cash flow.
Right.
So then that may just be an end buyer rather than an investor.
So the value can be in maybe some type of cash flow, but it's a pre-leveraged asset. It's
right? The asset.
And they find value in it.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I've also started to build out a list of people, that are looking in 32224 or whatever.
Like retail
and they
buyers?
want to they want it as a retail instead of
and they don't care about cash flow.
And they don't care about cash flow.
So where is that list coming from? Just people that reach out to you?
It's mostly all organic.
Okay.
Just from posting.
Yeah, I'm not marketing for those type of buyers. Are you
going to sell that list of prop streams?
Should.
List of retail buyers.
Yeah.
That'd be nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's just from people seeing me post on socials, all organic. It's like, hey, if you get anything in this zip code, so I just start building that list out.
Gotcha. You can probably create that list by finding people that apply for loans, because it goes on their credit, and then you can, I guess, find it as an inquiry on their credit. So if somebody applies for a loan and they get a pre-approval to go get a loan to buy a house, you know that it's a retail buyer that's shopping for a loan or shopping for a house.
Right. But where are you getting that from? The lender?
Can't you get it from the credit bureaus?
Who? The general public?
Correct.
Can just get a public? I don't know.
I thought so. No?
I mean,
that's a good question. I don't know if that's...
That doesn't come to me as they would allow that.
Yeah? I don't know.
Question for the viewers.
But you can have a lender friend that might give you a list of people that didn't get approved.
Yeah, then
So
that did not get approved.
Yeah, that's possible.
Hashtag Jeff Weller, Mike Grangine. Shout out. Cool.
Yeah.
So, all right. So the creative deals, they're just mind blowing to a lot of people. I know a lot of people are watching. They're super interested. They want to learn more. They want to dig their claws into it because, we can all do wholesale deals.
Sure.
We can get, a little bit of cash, a lot of cash from the wholesale deals, but there's a lot of leads that go to the side and there's things that can be done with it.
Absolutely.
You and Sam actually are really a lot alike because as interested and creative you are, Sam is also that way because he does a lot of the phone work here and he just like picks not only the deal apart, but the person
The
apart.
person. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
It's very
And not in a
interesting.
bad way, right? Not in a bad way. It's just there truly is an art to keeping the individual on the line
Right.
and getting them to divulge information.
Yeah,
But
I've watched, some of your videos, and
Nice.
yeah, you align a lot with how I am.
And the funny thing is, they to do it without offending them because once you get past the information is out there, the conversation is so much simpler, and then they're way more open to really talking about those solutions.
Right.
It's really working with them to deliver that information. So I guess what I'm getting at is, all right, so you've been doing this for a couple of years now, and you're deep into the creative realm of things. How much grit do you have to go through to actually get a deal or to get someone to trust you to allow them to be converted?
It's a lot more work than a typical wholesale deal. You probably know that, but it's usually less too. You're not making 30, 40 grand
Right.
because you're trying to give these people a little bit of money up front. Plus, if there's an agent involved, you're trying to get them paid. I'd say our average on a creative deal is probably closer to 10 or a little bit less rather than wholesale is,
A lot more.
a lot more. So it is a lot more time. It's a lot more energy, but the feeling at the end is just completely different than a typical wholesale transaction.
Because you feel like you've helped somebody more.
Yeah,
than
and
just buying a
usually
house with
you've
cash.
helped multiple people in the transaction. You've helped the agent get paid.
Yep.
You've helped the seller get out of a crappy situation. You've helped the seller get paid, and then whatever the exit is, sometimes we've helped people, get their house that they would have never ever qualified for.
Right.
So it's just a lot more rewarding, in my opinion, than wholesaling's rewarding too, because you're still helping people, but it's like tenfold.
Gotcha.
So
for
for
me. So
somebody
it
that's
is
just
good.
starting out, they watched a bunch of Pace Morby videos.
Yeah.
Now they know how to pitch
Maybe
it.
Gianina
They
videos?
probably are going to screw it up.
Yeah.
What's the best way? Just to reach out to agents on MLS?
Yeah. I mean, start by reaching out on the MLS if you haven't built, relationships with agents that are already bringing you pocket listings or listings, then start on the MLS. Start looking at things that have been there for, I look at 90 days plus.
Yeah.
Sometimes I'll shoot 60 days because those people still might, be in.
And then you probably filter. Do you filter by the age of the house or something like that?
I don't usually do by age.
Because how do you know that they're in that spot where they have little to no equity in the house?
I mean, I guess some of it is based off of
Recent
age, but some of
purchase,
these houses, they might be a 1988 house that they still
They
bought a
refied.
year ago. Yeah.
Right.
They
Or they
refied. They bought a
refi.
year
Right.
ago.
So yeah, I mean, 2020. As soon as I see a 2022 or 2023 house, like I'm on it.
Yeah.
Right.
Immediately. But yeah, not necessarily. I don't really filter it out that way. I will look.
Because you will still do a cash deal if it works out.
Mhm. Yeah, I look at all the options.
No, she turns the cash away.
Oh
Why
yeah.
does she want that?
No cash
No more
deals. Yeah.
cash.
20, 30K. No thanks.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, it's a lot of, in my opinion, it's a lot of like manually doing things, and there's probably systems that someone will invent or that are honestly out there, but I'll just scroll down on Zillow and be like, oh, they bought it like 6 months ago.
And so, do you
Creative.
do all the calling on your own, or you have a VA? How does that?
I have
process work?
one full-time guy that does agent outreach for me, and he kind of just maintains the relationship. So those are a lot of the pocket
Really?
listings that come in. Yeah, but when it comes to like on the MLS ones,
That's interesting. I've
typically me.
never heard anyone have a guy that maintains relationships with agents. How
Yeah.
does that come about? Like he just has the relationships with agents, they bring him the deals, and then he brings it to you? Is
Are
that
they
how it is?
local?
Yep. Yeah.
Okay.
Wow.
Yeah. Most
So
of them
he
are.
would even go
But
to
then they'll start because they'll connect you with another agent. They'll be like, oh, well, I have some in Orlando, all the way up
and do
the
you
coast,
pay
but
him a
most of them are
salary?
locally. He's commission based
Commission
for the
based?
most part. Yep.
Okay, so he just brings you the deals and then you basically dispo it or figure out what needs to be structured there,
Yeah, so
acquire
he'll
it, and then dispo
right.
it.
He'll bring it like warm or hot.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
I'll close it.
Did you say this was a virtual assistant?
No,
No.
there's a
No,
guy
somebody
here.
here.
He's
Yeah.
here locally.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've never heard of anybody doing something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Have a guy to maintain agent relationships. That's
Because I mean that's basically a full-time job, to be able to all
absolutely.
day long do
Yeah.
that when you're doing other things too.
Yeah, with
I mean, if that's your
agents,
one focus, then
it's very
fine.
weird with agents because it's like a foreign language. So if you don't
Yes.
maintain a
Mhm.
relationship with those agents,
Yeah.
they'll just forget that you even exist and
Nope.
they'll never bring you another deal.
Exactly.
You'd like have to check in with them almost more than you have to check in with direct sellers.
Yep.
That's crazy.
Yeah, so I have them doing, at least weekly check-ins,
Wow.
just being like, hey, and it doesn't have to be like, do you have any deals?
Right.
Just
Yeah.
keep them top of mind.
Yeah.
Right.
know.
Like they close something, he calls them, congratulations on closing this,
Yep.
stuff like that, I guess. That's awesome.
So with all the different, if you can think about like how the lead flow occurs, whether you're cold calling, driving for dollars, whatever, it can take a lot to get through the lead flow. So I think we're all very optimistic, which makes us all really good at what we do. So we're excited, we're eager. We talk to the leads. We're trying to figure out the situation. We're talking to our relationships. We're trying to convert. And for newer people or people that don't know if they want to leave the W-2 world to get into becoming an entrepreneur, I can almost see as to why they would think that leads suck,
Yeah.
right? I mean, if you're calling 500 to 1,000 dials a day,
Yeah.
or you're driving up and down neighborhoods for a month and you don't get a deal, I can clearly see how someone would feel like the leads suck.
Right.
How do you change that person's mind?
I mean, I think just opening up other avenues, just not doing the typical wholesale and educating people that there are other ways to get these across the table. Because how many of those calls where someone's saying, F you, or I don't have a house to sell, are you opening up another avenue for them, another option? Or
because you lowballed them.
Yeah, you just lowballed them. They're going to say F you. But if you're able to give them retail in another way,
right,
then why not? But not
you just want to
a
make
lot
sure
of people.
they don't hang up on you before you start pitching.
Yeah, exactly. Or like, are you really digging into them to figure out that their neighbor wants to sell their house?
Right.
So like, how far are you actually getting to know that person? Because it's like, as soon as somebody says F you to me, it's like I start making a joke, and I kind of see like you're in a similar way that you approach sellers, and it's just like lighten them up a little bit. They're obviously having a bad day or whatever. Like, figure out why they're screaming F you at.
Because they're not screaming
they just
at you, they're screaming at their life circumstance.
Right. There's something wrong.
Yeah.
There's something deep down inside. Like, they're not just saying, please don't call me again.
Oh, so they're screaming at
like,
themselves, really?
Yeah.
Is that what's going on?
I mean, that's how I always look at it.
Don't be so hard on yourself, sir.
Yeah, you're not cussing me out, you're cussing yourself.
Right.
And and it's like to build, even if they did scream at you, if they remember, okay, in 6 months that now I do want to sell, and that person was like nice to me on X day, who are they going to call? Not the 15th person that gave them a lowball offer. It's the person that asked how their day was or made a joke with them or whatever. So I think just building relationships too, to answer your question, going through all these sucky leads, like talk to people,
right.
Get to know
We
them.
have a belief here in the numbers. So we have a belief that if you're a salesperson, you have to have certain minimums. So the minimum for us is you have to make 100 calls a day, 20 conversations. Conversation meaning you have 2 to 3 minute call at least, with something meaningful happening at that call, and make at least 3 to 5 offers when you're making those calls and those conversations.
Yeah.
So those are the minimums we set. And then we also have minimums of how many times do you call each person? Because to me, you have to call that person at least twice for it to count as one call. Do you have any routine like that you abide by on a daily basis?
I mean, since I'm honestly like the main one on the phones, except our agent outreach, I don't go by necessarily such strict numbers like you guys do. Like, I'm not following a scorecard or anything. Since it's me, I probably should, but I don't. But the minimum call thing, it's funny you said that, because like I know there's a lot of Verizon, I think, and T-Mobile now, it's the 3 calls.
Yeah.
where the phone won't ring unless you've called 3 times.
Right.
So that's new, and it's like, yeah, you better be calling 3 times because I don't think their phone's even ringing on the other side unless you're calling 3 times. Because in your head, you're like, okay, I'm just going to be that annoying person, and they're going to pick up and be like, why the hell you call me 3 times? No, their
Right.
phone just rang for the first time.
Yeah.
I was
On
just
your
trying
third
to
time.
leave you a voicemail. Man.
Yeah, yeah,
I forgot to leave it on the first ring.
Yes,
Uh-huh.
I've gotten it. Yeah, a few times.
yeah,
That's funny.
yeah. Or ring. Do you guys do ringless?
We don't do ringless.
No.
We use so we have an AI system.
Okay,
You
yeah.
probably know about it.
Mhm.
We just have the AI system call the sellers,
Mhm.
and then as soon as they say, yeah, I want an offer, it just
Yeah.
transfers to us.
Okay,
They
Yeah.
answer a series of questions before.
gotcha.
Yeah, and then there's a lot of like routine follow-up stages
Mhm.
too, as to where we have people that we're talking to, or maybe they drifted away, or maybe they were dead leads, and the
Right.
AI can continue to follow up,
Okay.
get them on the line, see if there's still interest, and then
Mhm.
put them over to a real person,
Yeah.
which is also really good. So shameless plug,
That is.
guys.
Amazing.
So one
Yeah.
thing that we want to ask everybody on this podcast is, so we have this belief also that, I mean, that's the name of the show, All Leads Suck.
Yeah.
And the reason we put it up there is because, so Dom one time brought up an old wise man. I don't know where he came about. But this old wise man walked into a room. It was like a conference room.
Mhm.
And on the whiteboard, he wrote, there's only one type of leads.
Well, he
It's
prefaced it because people categorize their leads.
right.
Cold,
People
warm,
categorize
hot.
their leads hot, watch, nurture,
Mhm.
cold, whatever. He's like, there's only one type of leads. It's called lead. And that stuck with us
Mhm.
because he's basically saying that all leads are bad. There's no such thing as hot lead or warm lead.
Right.
You just have to work those leads the correct way
Mhm.
or give it the most that you possibly can
Mhm.
in order to be able to convert. So it's not about the leads that you have, it's about how good of a salesperson you are.
Absolutely.
So the question that we want to ask everybody is, what is a lead to you? How would you classify a lead within your business and what you do? Because obviously you were doing cash transactions before, you started converting, figuring out new ways of working with those leads. So how would you classify lead?
So a lead to me is somebody that wants to sell.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's not necessarily the numbers. It's not necessarily they want to sell, now, but somebody that just raises their hand
Mm-hmm.
and they say, I have interest in selling one of my properties.
Whether they ask $1 million for $100,000 house or 100,000 or 10,000.
Right.
Right.
Okay.
Yep.
And then you'd work that lead, even if they ask for $1 million, you'd work that lead. You wouldn't throw it away.
No, because
Why?
I would take it creatively.
Right.
And I'm already trying to, because I do a lot of the reverse wholesale too. So I'm already trying to find, my buyer
Yeah.
for that deal. So
When you're talking to them and you don't even have it under contract, you're like, who's going to buy this?
Yeah.
I see.
Right,
We
so-
used to do that a lot, actually. So me and Louis started in the business together. And initially, we would get a lot of leads. A lot of them were agent leads. They'd bring us the deals, and we wouldn't get it under contract. We would have it sold,
Yeah.
and then we would get it under contract and sell
Reverse
it.
wholesale.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we'd have
Yeah.
buyers like begging for the contract because they knew it would sell quick. Because I mean, obviously this was a couple 2 years ago.
Yeah.
So like
completely different.
they're like, just give me the contract now. And you're like, you have to wait at least 24 hours because I have to get the contract first.
Yeah.
Then I can give you a contract, send it over.
I mean,
And you do have to be careful doing it.
Right,
You
we
have to be
stopped
very
doing
careful
it.
doing it that
Not
way.
that we didn't get burnt or anything like that, because I remember Dom asked us one time, "What's your close rate?" Because not every contract you get is closing.
No.
Our close rate was like 90%.
Yeah, but that's
Like-
because we didn't pick it up if we didn't have it sold.
Correct.
So
We would
it's like-
have to have it sold in order to pick
Yeah.
it up, which was very conservative.
So why did you guys change?
We changed
because
because
we realized we were missing out on opportunities because we were, like you said, it's difficult doing that because you can't trust everybody.
Yeah.
So we had a limited amount of people we trusted. They were picking up properties. So it was like, okay, we can do this for these, let's call it 10 people.
Exactly.
But the
Yep.
reality was that like we're limiting ourselves to 10 people when we know that there's so many other people who would buy and so many other ways to put the deal together.
Right.
I think one
Actu-
strong example is you can't novate that way.
No.
No.
Right.
Right.
And
You can't.
novations are super hot right now.
They
Yeah.
are.
Very profitable.
That's actually so one
One of the things.
that was that was one of the things. But the
Yeah.
turning point was we got this one deal. It was two houses right
Oh,
next
yeah.
to each other, because that's when we turned the wheels and we started doing it differently.
Yeah.
So it was these two houses. The
Sam
lead
hated
came in from an agent. I went out to meet the seller. We were doing all in-person appointments. We went out to meet the seller. I met her, walked the houses. It was probably the biggest hoarder house you could ever imagine. It was filled from the ground to the ceiling. You
with like
barely be able
tchotchkes.
to walk. Yeah.
It was so funny. It was like Budweiser tchotchkes and like
It
Mickey
seemed
Mouse
like
things.
somebody went to all the garage sales in Jacksonville,
Yeah.
bought everything that was at the garage sales, and filled up two houses
Yeah.
with it. So, and the sweetest lady meets me
Yeah.
at the door. She walks me through the house. Like you'd look at her, you'd never believe that she lives in a house like that.
Yeah.
So she walks me through the house. I look at everything. I mean, it's
She
a
had an
complete
alligator in the
shit
house.
show. The
Or like
house is
some
a
sort of
complete
lizard.
shit show. It needs everything. It needs roofs. I mean, it's chopped up in different weird types of bedrooms. Electrical is shot, plumbing is shot, everything's shot with the house. Supposedly, they had an offer from somebody for 100 and what was it? 120,000 or something
Yeah.
like that. And then um, the person that they had a contract with supposedly got it under contract, and next day came back and said, "I can't pay you the
They negotiated it down.
120. Now we have to be at 90 because we looked." The boss man looked at the pictures, and now we have to drop the price $30,000.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They were under contract to purchase another property for 115,000, and if this house didn't close, they were gonna lose the other house, and that was the only reason they wanted to sell.
Yeah.
So they went under contract with somebody to be able to buy the other one and downsize. So I looked at it and I'm like, you know what? The right number is actually about 80 to 85 grand.
Yeah.
There's really nothing I can do with this.
Yeah.
And then Lewis sent it out to a couple people because I basically said, I'm out. This is a nightmare. Nobody's even going to be able to do anything with this. So Lewis sent it out to a couple of people, and then one of
We got a contract on it, and they ended up backing out on it. We got a contract on it, so we put it under contract at a higher price than he wanted because I sold it for significantly higher.
for 150.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So then
And she only
she
wanted
didn't care.
115
Yeah.
just to buy the other house.
Yeah. So then we just put it under contract for hire, sold it to them. They backed out. And I'm like, oh shit, now we have this under contract. We have to figure this out. This lady's so sweet. She worked with us so much. We ended up selling to somebody else who then sold it to somebody else. And he made almost as much as we made on the deal. And we were like, dude, we wanted to be, it was
We sold it to
75K
somebody.
less
Yeah, we
than what
got
we
the
wanted.
deposit from the first buyer.
Yeah.
He left a $3,500 deposit.
Yep.
The second buyer came in, offered us the same exact price.
No, it was
100
more. It was 10K more.
Or even more,
It was 10K more.
$160,000. And then they sold it for
For 180.
185.
Yeah. It was
And
crazy.
we were like, this deal makes no
Yeah.
sense whatsoever.
Yeah.
At 80.
But the guy who bought it was an attorney and he just wanted to stash money and he just wanted to collect rents. He did not care. He saw that there was a little bit of value in it and it didn't matter to him. And we started thinking, oh, we're always going to people like Dom and like bigger players.
Right.
There's all sorts of people who can still buy these deals. We have to start opening up our channels and stop being so conservative.
Yeah, basically, if we don't have the deal sold, don't get it under contract, we just scratch that whole policy. But it was a complete shift of minds.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because you're leaving how much money
Oh my
on
gosh.
the table.
It was,
Yeah.
You know,
I
like
mean,
it's quick and it's the quick inconvenience.
we were walking away from that
Right.
deal and we paid 30 grand. We paid more and still ended up making more than we would have, like more than we thought we would have if we would have paid that lower price originally. Like we could not believe it. And then I think we had that happen one or two more times with a buddy of ours who helped us. And we were just like, okay, we're doing this all wrong.
That's it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's a great evolution, though. I think for someone wanting to break the barrier to get into the industry, that's a great, comfortable way for them to get a deal done.
Yeah. And that's kind of how I started out. Because like if you just, like you said, like those 10 buyers,
Yep.
if you're just consistently working with them, you know, and if you're working your W-2 still or whatever, and you don't have time to like, you know, work all the systems or build out this massive buyers list, it's like an easy way to get into it.
Gotcha.
I feel.
So two of the things, the huge things that you pointed out, as a reason why people would think leads suck, and what can help them get over that is because the first thing I think you really pointed out was education, educating them on the options and the ways to get those deals converted.
Right.
I think the more educated you are, the easier sales gets.
Yep.
Right.
It is.
So education was huge. And then you also said relationships. Can you elaborate on the relationships part of it? Because if someone's trying to get into the industry, I mean, how are relationships going to help them?
Yeah. I mean,
Like
relationships.
networking and
Yeah, relationships in general, I mean, that's what has grown my business drastically because we talked about before, like I spent no money on marketing the first 2 years because
Yep.
everything was relationship based. So, I mean, relationship with sellers obviously is getting the leads,
Yeah.
but relationships, with everybody in the network, going to networking events, doing that, building, rapport with everyone in your industry for the organic leads, to come to you. So yeah, relationships with sellers, I think, is what I was getting at in that aspect.
Oh, I gotcha.
Because I don't know, I've never been a salesperson. Like I came from a healthcare background, so it's like when I get on the phone, sales and scripts and all that, like it's just not me.
Right.
So I've always just
Even still?
even still,
Okay.
yeah. No, there's certain lines I'll use,
Right.
but nothing I don't think that comes out of my mouth. And I don't record my calls or anything or post them on socials, which I probably should, but I never come off as salesy,
Right.
just ever. And for me, it's because I worked with,
Is that a sales tactic?
Yeah, absolutely.
because I feel like so much of the clientele is like the older population, right? And I worked with senior citizens when I was a speech therapist. So it's just like, I just like connect so well with them, like I'd say like 50 and over, I connect well with them. Those are probably like majority of my deals that I lock up is that
Targeting.
that
So you
clientele.
just take advantage of retired people.
I mean, I haven't had a piece that say, you're taking advantage of my age, but they're the cutest. They're my favorite.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So relationships with sellers is, what I was getting with those leads. But yeah, in
I
general,
feel like
relationships.
the whole sales industry is very badly portrayed
Mm-hmm.
and has a lot of stereotypes that probably don't even apply to real salespeople.
Right.
Such as, like anybody that's a salesman, you're thinking of a sleazy guy trying to sell you a
Yeah.
1984 car
Mm-hmm.
and telling you that it's all good and it has 300,000 miles with a backed out speedometer.
Or
Right. But the reality of it is that person is not a real salesman.
Yeah.
It's just,
An order taker.
yeah, an order taker.
Right.
A salesman is somebody who helps people make decisions and move from one point to the other, whether it's in
True.
their life or whatever it is. Just help them make a decision
Yeah.
and the right decision for them that makes sense.
Right.
Well,
So you're just helping people solve problems.
Yep.
And by helping them solve those problems, you reap rewards from those problems being solved.
well, and it's really interesting you say that too, because I know specifically in the real estate industry,
Mm-hmm.
like realtors always feel some type of way about wholesalers. Most of them don't understand sub two whatsoever. And
Right.
then the worst thing that they do is they call up a lender who knows even less about it than they do and tell them how like it doesn't exist and it's not real and this person's a scammer.
Yep.
And then they just hate on you.
Mm-hmm.
When in reality, like you said, most of the people you're helping are underwater and they have no options.
Right.
And they're desperate at this point. They're already using a realtor who isn't solving their problem because realistically, a realtor could do exactly what we're doing.
Mm-hmm.
That would just involve having to do more than throwing it on the MLS,
Right.
which as a realtor myself, I know that that's what we all do,
Mm-hmm.
right? It's like we're as wholesalers and I guess creative finance people, like we put the extra hustle in there and not just wait for the listings or the showings to happen at these properties.
Right.
So it's just so interesting to see how our own industry really looks at us as like bottom of the earth, like we don't have a license and we end up knowing more than them most of the time.
Yep.
It's so interesting.
Are you happy that realtors are going out of business?
I mean, not necessarily happy that realtors are going out of business, but I think that it starts to weed out people who are
Flipping
ineffective
burgers
in
at a
the
Wendy?
no, just ineffective in the business and they give us a bad name. I mean, we looked at that property earlier. It's been up for 386 days. It has 300 views on Zillow, which is like
clearly wrong with that.
80% of the US population goes to Zillow first to look for a home. And you're going to tell me that you could only find 300 people in over a year to look at this
Incredibly
listing.
rare.
And
When
then
did that
as an
first signal
agent,
to you? Overpriced? Severely?
it does, but it also makes me think, obviously there has to be more things
I
wrong
don't
with
think
this
it's
listing.
always the price, man.
No,
A lot of the
what
Isn't
times
that
he
the
it's
first
found
thing that
was
you think
that's
of?
what
it
you
is.
think of, but it's not
It's
always the price.
they input the information on either the MLS or on Zillow incorrectly, and they haven't fixed it because I said the first thing I said is, dude, this sucks. This is 1,300 square feet, and he's like, each unit's 1,300 square feet. I had no idea it was a multifamily. So it's like it's already misrepresented on Zillow, and like
Like,
as the
imagine you
agent,
put a
there's no
multifamily property on the market and you market
And
as
it's under
single
single
family and
family.
you only
yeah,
put the size of one unit
right,
and you never fix it.
right, and then
Obviously, it's not going to sell
Nope.
because everybody that's looking for a multifamily is going to filter that property out.
right.
Yep.
And so, like, as a wholesaler or as a, creative finance individual, we're looking at who can we sell this to? We're making these phone calls. We're calling people, actively trying to get them over there, bringing them to the property. Whereas this guy has, in my opinion, thrown it on the
Thrown it on.
MLS and looked for his next listing
Yep.
and just completely, sidebarred his client, which I
Well,
mean, this guy's in a
because
bad spot. His entire property is unused, and I mean, he's losing out on what, a couple $1 million? No, he had it listed for $1 million over what it's listed now.
yeah, well,
So it's just
2020 and
yeah.
2021 spoiled everybody.
Oh yeah.
Well, especially realtors, because you didn't have to sell. You
No,
didn't have to do open houses. You didn't have to create flyers. You didn't have to
dude,
hit the phones.
it was the craziest couple of years, and I
All you
mean,
had to do is
most
turn
people I
down
know are
most
out.
offers.
They
Yeah.
weren't
I mean,
able
how
to
many
survive.
people became realtors
And not
during
pick
that
up
time?
your phone.
Mm-hmm.
Not
Yeah.
pick up.
Yeah. Oh man,
wild.
listing agents never wanted to answer the phone back then. You could call them 10 times in a row. They were worse than trying to get a hold of a seller. It was tough, and they literally did not care about you either. So,
I lost out at those times. I lost out on one deal where we bid $130,000 over ask price with $235,000 coverage in
yeah.
case the property doesn't appraise. So if the property appraised for $235,000 less than what we were buying it for, they would have covered the difference on top of offering 130 grand on top of the list price. And I still lost the offer to someone else. It was ridiculous.
What were you going to do with that?
It wasn't like I was representing a client
Oh, you were
as a
okay.
real estate
Got it.
agent, and so it was funny. We walked into the door, looked at the house. They were desperate for a house in Mandarin, and we looked at the house. We walk out. I look at the wife, and I'm about to tell her, "Listen, if we're not offering like $50,000-$60,000 over list price, there's not even a reason to submit an offer." She's like, "Yeah, I was. That's what I was gonna tell her." And then I'm like, "This is probably gonna have to be over list price. What are you thinking?" And she's like, "Probably 100,000." I'm like, "Let's go for 130 over ask." And then we just submit an offer 130 over ask, and we still lose it.
Still didn't get it.
That
Yeah.
is outrageous.
Yeah,
And
It's
those
funny.
are the leads now that if they're trying to sell,
they can't sell.
guess
Yeah.
what?
Yeah.
You better
And
go
they're like, I
creative.
paid over. I did all this. You're like, sorry.
Yeah.
I don't know what to tell
You
you.
certainly did, correct.
Yeah. Saw
You
that
know what
interest
market
rate.
was severely like that? Austin, Texas.
Oh yeah.
And
Dude.
LA, Los Angeles too.
Yeah, yeah. Well, there were waves of people moving from California into Austin,
Yeah, like Texas.
And I have a friend,
Tesla.
Diego Corzo, who is a realtor in Austin, Texas. And if you weren't submitting 50 to 100K over ask from new builder,
You're
whatever,
wasting your time.
you're completely, but he wouldn't even do it. You couldn't because you wouldn't win them.
Mm-mm.
I
They
wouldn't
were
even.
fighting like crazy to buy those properties.
I wouldn't write
And
offers if they weren't
for
over.
people in, yeah, for people in
It was all in
California, like
California. It was cheap.
they're
to them.
selling for high and they think it's still cheap.
Yeah.
Right.
And
Yeah.
that was the routine at that
But
point.
I don't think it necessarily had all to do with the prices of the houses. I think it was the interest rates.
It was.
Because
Mhm.
if the
Of
rate is
course.
2-3%, if you pay 100
almost
grand
free money.
extra, who
Yeah,
cares?
it's still free
Right.
money.
You
Yeah.
know, I mean, it's less than what the inflation is.
Yep.
So you're beating the inflation just by buying the house.
Well, overpaying by 50 to 100 grand is the only way they can cash out and put 300 to 400 grand in their pocket and
Right.
go move to Austin.
Right.
So it's still a huge win for them. They
Right.
don't care. And they get a nicer, newer, bigger home.
Mhm.
And now
Then
people
they're-
like Gianina can go and get those sub too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like Austin. I'll move back there.
Yeah. So, what is the type of investor that might buy a sub 2 with negative equity?
Somebody
Okay,
that
just-
just holding it for the long term, like we talked about, the asset, or
Mhm.
some. I mean, if it's not something that or pad split.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I pitch pad split a lot with these since it is so popular in this area, and this is the market that we target.
Mhm.
So yeah, just
How
if it
many?
doesn't cash flow, it's harder to dispo obviously if it doesn't cash flow, and a lot of people won't lock it up if it doesn't cash flow.
Right.
But I'm like, you guys got to open up, you know, your buyers
Yeah.
and market it with those exit strategies on there because
Smart.
some investors may not even think
Right.
of something if it doesn't cash flow.
Right.
as an intention.
How many sub 2 deals have you done already? Do you have like any kind of
No, I probably
countdown?
should count. You guys are big on numbers. Huh? I'm not.
But
It's
like
bad.
if you
I didn't
were,
start tracking KPIs till like last year.
is it a lot though? Like you were
Yeah, I
doing
mean,
more than
majority,
cash?
no, majority are cash
Okay.
Okay.
because yeah, I mean, it's harder. We probably do, we're close to like 15 deals a month, like typical wholesale. And I'd say out of those, it's like maybe 3 or 4 of those
Mm.
end up getting converted to creative. So
Okay.
it's not
Everybody
massive.
wants to know one thing.
What is
How
it?
many of those deals get called by the bank? You take it
Oh,
over
yeah.
sub 2.
We-
How many of them go under the deal and sale clause and the bank forecloses? Hold on. Let her answer first
Why?
before you tell about the deal that we have.
Oh gosh. Well, it's something low, like 1%. But like you have to know how to structure it.
Like, have
to
you
know-
had any deals that you wholesaled or
No.
bought that got called?
No.
Why? Is it
She knows
because
how
you
to structure
structure
it.
You
it
have to
correctly?
structure it right.
How do you structure
You
it?
have to. And if you're putting it in a land trust,
Okay.
so land trust is huge. Like the one that we're about to buy, like honestly, when we first moved in, I'm like, we're living in this house that we could potentially be like, get out.
Out of
Yeah. But Katie, my wife, she does all the paperwork side of things. And she's like,
Nice.
no, everything's gonna be structured right. It's gonna be set up right. Like if something is red flagged, you're gonna know way ahead of time too.
How did you guys
You
learn
know.
how to structure it correctly via the land trust?
Ask my wife.
Well, she's
I'm be-
next on the podcast.
Yeah,
then, I
I'm
guess.
better on the phones and stuff. But yeah, she knows how to structure it all and convert. Or if it's not in a land trust initially, then converting it to that.
Because
Why you guys have one?
we have
We
a
have
deal
a
right
deal right
now
now.
that we locked up. It was 2 days ago,
Yep.
and the guy bought a sub 2 deal in Dallas. He
Mhm.
bought it from a wholesaler.
Used an attorney to close.
He used an attorney to
A
close.
sub 2 attorney
A
that
sub 2
sells a
attorney.
course in her email.
I don't think.
She
And
sells a sub 2 course
He
in her
took
email.
it under his personal name. He
Yep.
took
It's
it
in
under
his
his
personal
personal name.
Yeah.
And here's the funniest thing: the bank didn't call the note due, but then he sent in a pay. So his payment changed, and he sent in a payment that was $6 short. They noticed something was off. They looked at the record, and then they called his note due over $6.
Yep.
Yeah, you have to be careful when it
Yeah.
comes to the payments.
So now we locked up the deal as a cash transaction, and it's a brand new house, 2018.
Mhm.
He ripped out the carpets. He was going to remove all the floors and replace it with LVP. So we got it under contract. So he bought it with a $180,000 mortgage on it, and he put $30,000 as a down payment,
Mhm.
and that included assignment, arrears, and some money to the seller.
Mhm.
Now he's selling it to us for 200, so he's just gonna walk away with about 10 to 15 grand.
Yep.
He's gonna take a $15,000 loss, and then we just have to help him move it and sell the property
Okay.
to
And
someone
undo
else.
the red flags.
And undo all the red flags and stop the foreclosures and
Yeah.
all kinds of stuff.
Well, tell her about the 2 potential ways to close it because of
Oh yeah, so we have 2
because of the power
potential
of
ways to
attorney.
close.
Mhm.
Yeah, so he has power of attorney. He got
Okay.
power of attorney from the seller.
Yep.
So one way to close is we just close it as a regular cash deal. We
Mhm.
request a payoff. If the bank gives the payoff, then we just close it as a regular cash deal.
Yep.
The other way to close is to deed it back into the original seller's name,
Mhm.
and then you have to buy it back either through the land trust
Right.
or through a contract for deed.
Yep.
So you
Yeah,
just
that's what I was gonna
Yeah.
suggest.
So you just buy it basically via the contract. The contract gets placed in an escrow account as a safety deposit box.
Yep.
And then the deed remains in the original seller's name so that it doesn't trigger anything with the bank or anyone else.
Yep.
So, but I think
You're
it's
just
going to
gonna
have
do
to be a
cash.
cash deal. Yeah, because there is enough equity. Luckily, there was
Yeah.
equity
Right.
in
Yeah,
the
which
deal.
isn't the case
Right.
for many, but you guys,
Right.
you guys lucked out with that.
Yep. So, but you have to be very careful
You
when
do.
you do sub 2 deals and who you do it with, and it has to be set up correctly.
You need to make sure like you have a TC that knows what they're doing. But like you
Right.
said, this person was like marketing
It's
a
crazy.
sub 2 course, so you
I'm
have
looking.
to vet like who you're.
I'm looking at her email and I scroll to the bottom to try and figure out how I can call her, and I'm like, she's selling a sub 2 course in her email, yet this is a wrong
He's talking about the
transaction.
attorney.
The attorney. Yeah. I'm like, I can't believe that this is what happened. And then that was recommended to us as the number one like closing
firm.
attorney for sub 2 deals in the area.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Let's make sure, so right now we're doing the deal with her again, because she
She has
drafted
the
the
power
power
of
of
attorney,
attorney,
yeah.
and no other title company will accept a power of attorney drafted by another title company.
Right.
I don't know why.
They just
But
think it can be fraud.
yeah, yeah, I guess. But basically, let's not talk about it because she might watch this podcast and be like, "I'm not gonna close this
We'll
transaction."
block her as our friend.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have to
And
do
then
something.
unblock her.
Yeah, make sure she doesn't see it.
We should have maybe closed before we told the story.
Well, we
Oh,
didn't give away the address.
they'd have to watch all the way through to
Yeah.
get to this.
Yeah, it's in
Yeah.
Alaska, isn't it? Or North Dakota?
I already said it's Dallas, Texas, so
Mhm.
below
Oh,
the
did
cover.
you?
Yeah.
Nice. Appreciate that one.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So, if you don't mind us, I just want to ask one more question, then we have to wrap it up. How does the future look for Gianina the next year or so?
Think we're trying to build more, I guess if you want to call it like an enterprise, and just I want to start feeding into people more and giving back and getting people like to their financial
Like at the
freedom,
shelter?
should I say?
Where
No.
you serve food? No?
I mean, I would do that for animals probably, but no, just like giving back and feeding into people and giving like letting them get their first deal or to what they consider financial freedom just quicker by learning like through me and through my mistakes and things like that. Because I was so much in the grind like for the first 2 years. And I mean, since we don't have a massive team, it's like always in the back of my head, it was like, I want to teach people how to do this. I want to give back more. I want to, hold free events where I can teach people, but I was just too much in the business and in the grind.
Yep.
So I think giving back in ways like that and holding, little mini masterminds and stuff like that to teach people how to be more creative, think more outside the box.
Do you have
do
any
things like
on
that.
the agenda or planning to come up here soon?
Yeah, we're in the ups with planning something for hopefully like it's going to be a little bit far out, but probably November is what
I think
what
you
we're
guys
kind of
did
looking
do
at.
one event with Ray and Oriana at one time.
Yeah,
didn't
we
you?
did we held a networking
From Pat
event.
Split.
Yeah, and we held another one. They were at one of them, and then we held another one in St. Augustine as well. So, but kind of not so much just like networking, but actually like sitting down, helping people, not bring in like 50 people, but bring in a smaller amount, 12 to 15 people, so that they can get like individualized attention from each and to dig into their little businesses.
How do you qualify the right people for
I think
that
just
type of...
in people that want to put in the work, because I don't want not necessarily my name, but like I want you to succeed.
Right.
I don't want to guide you and then you fail.
Commitment.
But you never
they
put,
have
yeah,
to be
you
committed.
have to be committed. It's hard work. This is all hard work.
Yeah,
and
because that's not how it's portrayed.
No,
on
people
social
see it
media.
on socials, and it's
10K
like
in 30 days. Let's
yeah,
go,
10K
baby.
in 30K. Yeah, 30 days. It's very easy.
Yeah.
So
everybody can do it.
Yeah.
No money.
No
down.
money down. Part-time. Yeah.
And you don't have to do any of the work.
Yeah. We'll close your deals for you.
Yeah. So I think just building out other avenues in our business rather than just what we're doing now. So
That's smart.
Helping other people. I because Katie and I both came from helping professions, and real estate is helping, helping sellers, helping buyers, but I want people to be able to do and like implement what we're doing as well and to see them succeed. So
that's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome. That's really good. Yeah. And you've done a whole lot of creative stuff. I mean, you can really feed into other people. You can convey the information, the exit strategies, and not leave them out there on their own to figure out what's my next step.
Right.
Because people will have deals in front of them all day long and won't know what to do next. So I think that's
or even
amazing.
just learning that you can buy your own house in a creative way like that. Like people don't I mean, like it's a lot of work. So I know people don't necessarily want to do that, but people would do that work to be able to buy their own home and just know that it is possible if they're in a situation where maybe they aren't able to do that. They have a profession or a job where they haven't been at long enough to qualify. Just learning
Exactly.
from that and just taking that is a really cool thing to be able to offer people.
Well, also like, I mean, you can avoid so many fees. Just
Mhm.
getting
Right.
things created, origination costs and points
Well,
and
Yep.
she took less than 10% down for
Mhm.
somebody who probably couldn't qualify for the mortgage because of their job situation.
Mhm.
And they're into a place, and then 18 months later, which is probably what they need for their job, because
Yeah.
they just started 6 months at a job, and they're
Mhm.
like, okay, in 18 months I'll just refi out. But now they have that opportunity where most people would just be like, I'm just going to keep renting it. There's no other options for me. I'll never be able to do this.
Right.
It's just so interesting to be able to teach people that.
Mhm.
Cool.
Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah. So if anyone wants to reach out to you regarding questions or to learn more about you
Mhm.
or anything, they have a deal they need help with, how can
Yeah.
they reach you?
Find me on socials, Facebook, Gianina Ainsley Romito, or Instagram is Gianina Romito _real estate. So feel free to reach
Nice.
out. We'll love to help anybody.
Give out that cell number.
I don't know about that.
So
And
Keep
the
that
home
on the DL.
address.
where are you gonna be Thanksgiving? Cool.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Yeah, for sure. Well, once again, guys, thank you guys so much for joining us. Every Thursday at 1 p.m. Eastern time, we're going to come at you live, both here on YouTube and also in our group, All Leads Suck.
Yep.
So go to facebook.com and search All Leads Suck, and you can join our Facebook group where we talk about a lot of information just like this. But once again, guys, my name is Dominic Felix,
Luis Rodriguez.
This is Sam Bell.
and we appreciate you guys. Have a good weekend early.
See ya.
Peace.